To ask our speakers to take a seat already. Thank you. So this is actually Plenary 7 now of this Glec 2022, and this focuses on the benefits of a space ecosystem approach. And to kick off this plenary, we will hear a keynote speech by Robert Alien, CEO of Leviathan Space Industry. And after that, there will be the session moderated by Alejandro Roman Molinas, General Director of Aerospace Development, Paraguayan Space Agency, and Chair of the IEF Administrative Committee for Emerging Countries. Robert, please.
Thank you very much. Welcome to Ecuador. You've heard that a lot this week. And again, I want to reinforce it. It's been great to see all of you make this amazing effort to support this important conversation about ecosystems. So I wanted to talk about, let me just go to the beginning. I'm clicking, but it's going to the end.
Hello.
Can you guys hear me? Yes? Okay. Hey!
Hello.
Lift off, right? Thank you so much. So when we're thinking about the benefits, for me the big question is about what we want to create. And in the case of our company, what we look to aim to do is to create these havens, for freedom and economic independence. And I think that's a very powerful message that we're looking to transmit in this case. So our goal in this case is to be able to work with spaceports. And I think that's a very important subject to talk about in the process of ecosystems. And spaceports can serve different roles. They can do multiple things. They can do horizontal launches, they can do vertical launches, they can be center of productions, they can be center of research, they can be center for testing, they can go ahead and be center for real estate, in this case, commercial real estate development, and also education. And one important factor also is tourism, how people travel and enjoy themselves, through life-changing experiences. And that's our concept for Spaceport Ecuador. That's what we're working on right now, and that's why we're very excited. We see a big opportunity with point-to-point transportation and what this can allow the world to be connected and how we can connect to the world in record time. If we start thinking about, as a country, that we have to prepare ourselves to be able to send our products and our people in 1 hour time, what do we have to do now to be able to prepare for that future? Do we need to work on more commercial treaties? Do we need to work on improving our companies? Do we need to work on improving our competitiveness? A lot of important questions about what that brings. So education and training, as we have seen from the previous presentation, is fundamental for this type of growth. It's something that it is basically needed to have a sustainable workforce to allow the creation of startups for them to be successful, attracting and fomenting the talent. And in the previous panel, there was a very good comment about, getting your talent and not letting it go out. But I think sometimes, especially with talent, as with capital, you need to let it flow. Because as people go to other countries and experience other cultures and economic opportunities, they can come back and improve also the local system. So we need to have a dynamic system that allows that to happen, in my opinion. So right now I have something very exciting for you to share. Probably for many of you, this is the first time in Ecuador. And I hope this is not the last. So I want to give you a reason for you to come back. Who would like to come back to Ecuador? Raise your hand. I see a lot of people. Now, who would like to come back to Ecuador to experience its vast geography and do some astronaut training, some simulations, put an astronaut suit and experience something exciting? So we're collaborating with Space Nation in this case to create that program for Ecuador so it will be available so anybody can come down. So I think that's a great opportunity to advance this conversation about how communities can get involved. And that's a great way of getting local actors involved that are not space related, like hotels, logistic companies, transportation, translation services that have been very helpful for this event. And also at the different sites. You need logistical support for food, you need to have different hotels. So it's great to get the community involved for programs like this to happen. So that's what we would like to create and invite all of you to participate and come down to Ecuador. So as we think about the benefits at a macro level, foreign direct investment is something that we always talk about, that we need the resources. We need to attract capital, we need to attract venture capitalists, we need to attract funds for them to be here. And how do we develop this tech ecosystem? And space plays a very important role within all of this. Leading a national or regional initiative. And if this can be done in multiple countries, with this special focus, it can definitely help diversify the local economy. And especially in emerging nations, sometimes we're dependent on one main product for our exports or a couple, but the idea is to diversify our commodity-based economy. So space can be playing a very important role in allowing that to happen. And what that does, it creates a stability for the economic model. Because with commodity prices, as you know, you're going to have all these peaks and valleys. So when we look at Ecuador, we have been working in talking to the local actors, and I think that's a very important part. Traditional non-space companies, the banana sector. Today we had a very important visit to the flower sector to understand how the roses are produced and sold around the world. Tuna industry, shrimp, cocoa, coffee, all the main staples that you guys love. And space can play a very important role in making them very productive. And in the previous sessions, we had a big conversation about bananas and the role that they play and the excellent work that is being done in Costa Rica, and that's amazing. So we can see it basically touches every aspect of the economy. But when we think about ecosystems, I suggest that we think about not only thinking about space ecosystems, but having those link up with non-space ecosystems. And I think that's a very key component. And then we open it up to integrate with other larger ecosystems, so we can create bigger networks. Okay, let's see the clicker. Doesn't want to go. Okay, so as we think about the spaceports and what point-to-point transportation, hypersonic flights can do, our goal is to be able to create the standards for a new set of spaceports around the world, just like private airports, because we believe that the most competitive cities of the future are the ones that are going to have access to a seaport, an airport, and a spaceport. And sometimes that can be very difficult for governments to do because you have politics, changing of priorities, and the private sector can definitely bring a solution with a long-term thinking of creating value and working towards solving those problems and creating standards that facilitate that growth. And this is the last slide. There was a lot of talk about inspiration. And this I like to show all the students and all the kids that I talk to. It's a perfect example of the future that they're going to be living in. And you cannot see at the bottom, but it says, in the next 100 years. And it has a name. The name is Jose Zambrano. Jose is the most popular name in Ecuador. Zambrano is the most popular last name in Ecuador. So I combined it to make this guy here. And he was born in 2019. He studied in 2 universities in Ecuador, and his careers are orbital mechanics and astronomy and mathematics. So he's just a figure for people to see what's available, because you see all these kids, they do not understand and know what's going to be happening. And most of those careers are still waiting to be invented. So it's an invitation for all of us to think about the future. So with that, I wanted to end the presentation, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon to the members of the panel. I hope you enjoyed the lunch. I know this time is a little bit difficult, the last day and after lunch, but please bear with us because our panel today is very interesting with a subject that is so much important. Let me say that before I start, that the experience of the dinner that yesterday we have was outstanding. I want to thank to the local and the IAF for organizing this experience, a unique experience to who has assisted will remember this as a unique experience. And after that, we continue our conversation here at the hotel. I was very interested and engaging. Getting into the topic, it is a reality that the space brings us many benefits. Developing space science and technology generates productive transformations and accelerates the scientific, technological, industrial, commercial, and social development in any country, especially on developing countries. It's also a reality that the need to develop programs to leverage the benefits of space technology and applications, products, and services, and establish a sustainable local space industry. Whereas some countries or regions may have a fair appreciation of this, there are a significant number of emerging countries that have not grasped yet these important benefits and how this can assist the socio-economic development on the country. A healthy and strong space ecosystem is a process that needs many components and actors. And there is a different level of maturity between the science and technology development in the region and around the world. And today we will have a small glimpse of how the different speakers view and experience in their respective countries and regions. And after that, we will have a round of questions between the members of the panel, and also we will receive the question of the audience via the Slido platform. Like I said before, we got a very interesting panel today, and without any further introduction, please join me to welcome our distinguished panelists from Azerbaijan, Mr. Fuad Aslanov. He's a vice chairman of Azer Cosmos, Space Agency of the Republic of Azerbaijan, and Rodrigo Leonard from Brazil, Coordenador de Satélites e Aplicações, Brazilian Space Agency from Brazil. From Colombia, Pilar Zamora Acevedo, Executive Director of the Colombian Space Agency. From the Czech Republic, Petr Varese, I hope I pronounce correctly, Honorary President of the Czech Space Alliance. From Ecuador, we welcome again Robert Ailón, CEO of Leviathan Space Industries from the United States, but he is from Ecuador. And last but not least, from Italy, Maria Cristina Falbella, General Inspector of Italian Space Agency and President of the Fondazione Amaldi. Okay, then let's start with our first presentation. Please welcome Fuat Aslanov from Azer-Cosmos.
Thank you very much. Today I will not be showing the presentation as we agreed because you have seen it too many times already. But what I wanted to do is to tell you the story of developing the space ecosystem in Azerbaijan, and I believe, well, they still show the presentation. Yeah, so it started in 2010 when there was a decree of the president on establishing Azer-Cosmos, a satellite operator. And back then, many people were questioning that idea. Why does such a small country as Azerbaijan would need a satellite operator? We are not that big enough, and there is not enough market that is available. So once we launched our first satellite in 2013, we immediately managed to become very successful, not only in Azerbaijan, but also in a wide region of Eastern Europe, Africa, Middle East. And most of the skeptics have already changed their mind. They understood that it is possible to become commercially efficient while not having enough experience or heritage. And the next mission actually was based on the remote sensing. So we decided to launch an Earth observation satellite, and that was another round of skepticism in the country, because there was not a mature market for remote sensing applications back then. Obviously, everybody was thinking about the defense applications only, and what we did is it took us few years to develop the internal market in Azerbaijan. So we worked with each ministry and tried to show them the benefits of how remote sensing data can efficiently impact the activities in agriculture, in ecology, in mining, and in many other areas. So, for example, I remember one of the first big projects was based on with our Ministry of Agriculture, where we managed to predict the yield and provide the yield forecast for wheat and barley, and the country which is in a country which is that much dependent on import of wheat and barley, and by doing that in few months in advance, it significantly increases the economic effect of that agricultural business. So. Obviously, in parallel, we understood that there is a lot of interest from the startups, from different various companies in the country, which want to develop new applications over the satellite services that we provide. So there was a natural need on establishing a good framework, a good basis for supporting all space initiatives in the country, and that was one of the reasons why the Space Agency of Azerbaijan was established last year, actually, and we are taking the leading role in that activity, promoting academic programs, joint ventures with our international partners, And by the way, one of the initiatives was the bid for IEC 2023, which will be in Baku. And I would like to invite you all to visit Baku and to get to know the space, the developments that are happening in that part of the world. Basically, this all shows us that having a space ecosystem is very beneficial for the country and for the economy of the country. So everybody benefits from that, and space agencies in emerging countries should put a greater role to support the initiatives, the space initiatives in the country, to support R&D, education, and I think that nowadays it's more possible and realistic than it used to be maybe a few years ago, when space was too conservative and it was a limited club for only the incumbent nations. Yeah, so I think I'm a bit, it takes a bit longer than expected, but I would be happy to address your questions later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fuad. Now, please welcome to the next speaker from Brazil, Rodrigo Leonard. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. It's a great pleasure to be here at the Glec 2022, interacting with our colleagues and also contributing for this plenary on benefits of a space ecosystem approach. I believe I have a few slides, if you can bring them. That's the last one, so how we go back? Okay, so you can leave there, that's fine. So yesterday, I think I enjoyed very much this plenary number 4, when our colleagues were discussing how to build a space ecosystem. And I think you remember the analogy of the Rubik Cube with all the building blocks that they need to exist in place in order for you to have a space ecosystem. And today, I would like to bring you also an analogy where we can think about our projects as the vehicle that allows us to interact with the space ecosystem and navigate through it, and even sometimes have some influence and improve it. So here I have a portfolio of projects, satellites, that some of them I'm directly involved in it. You see here on my right, Amazonia 1, which is a Brazilian satellite that we launched last year, is already in routine operations. And the exercise I want to do is my daily, my routine work is basically taking care of projects. I don't think that much about space ecosystems. But I do realize that by doing my work, I'm all the time interacting with the space ecosystem. So it's my vehicle through the space ecosystem. So yesterday, our colleagues, they were just specifying which building blocks exist in our space ecosystem. For instance, you need infrastructure. So in order to deliver Amazonia 1, Brazil had to put in place all the infrastructure for assembling and integrating our satellite. So it's part of the homework, it's there. Because I had to deliver something to the society, I'm already interacting with my space ecosystem. Industry, there's no way to run projects without industry. So in Brazil, we managed to assemble an industry capable of providing us the systems and subsystems needed for this specific project. So I'm again, just because Amazonia 1 is, I needed to deliver it on a schedule and on a budget, I'm interacting with my industry and I'm interacting with the space system. Human resources, we need expertise, we need know-how, we need engineers that know how to develop those systems. And again, on Amazonia 1, we also used an opportunity to bring young engineers to learn by doing it, how to develop space satellites. So I'm also doing capacity building, training, and education. Then we need international partnership. Amazonia 1, we launched with on board of PSLV, an Indian rocket, so we had to interact with Israel. I had an opportunity to go to India last year and interact with my colleagues from Israel. I'm doing international cooperation and collaboration just because I have one project to deliver. Again, because my daily project is Amazonia One, I had to deliver at the end of the day products and services. Amazonia now is operating, is acquiring images and monitoring our territory. We have a bunch of applications that are already running and delivering services to our society. Space law and policy, you know, once in a while we have to talk with lawyers to implement these projects. And we do have a space policy in Brazil from the 90s. So with the guidelines on how we should be doing space for Brazil. So again, because I have a project, I need to understand and I interact with the space policy. Governance, that's an important aspect of a space ecosystem. And again, we have to interact with industry, but not only industry, other branches of the Brazilian government, we have to interact with them. So governance is an important aspect that I have to start understanding just because I have one project to deliver. So compliance and risk, everybody understands that is important, and you know, there's a lot of risks that come together with a complex project like that one. So some days you don't sleep that well because of these risks that you have to understand. And of course, everything fits into a strategy of the country and guidelines that come from our Brazilian space program. So I invite you to, again, sometimes the space ecosystem is a diffuse environment that we don't clearly understand exactly how, what's the setup, but all of us are on routine basis involved in projects. Some of these projects are very complex, some of them are very simple, and every time you go to a project, think that the project is your vehicle through the space ecosystem. It's how actually you're gonna interact with it and maybe even influence and improving it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rodrigo. Now we give the floor to Pilar Zamora from Colombia. Can you give the clicker, please?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Pilar Zamora. I'm the Executive Director of Colombian Space Agency. Thank you for the IAF for the invitation, and from the Siderales Foundation again for the great night yesterday. For today, I want to talk about the space technology for emerging countries and what happened with my country, that it's Colombia. Before, I want that you know some about the Colombian Space Agency. We born 4 years ago, and we born from a private initiative. Our lines or our vertical for development are in the agriculture, in the GreenSat constellation. That it's a project it's a program for to build a constellation of CubeSats for research and for monitoring our natural resources in Colombia and in the Andean community. We work in the education programs. We have a platform in STEM education for women and for students in small cities in Colombia. Especially now we have public schools that are doing a CANSAT challenge and are doing STEM programs and participate in all our special programs. And we have programs for internet connectivity with satellite technology. And about the before to start to speak about the economy, and other point is that in our agency, like in Colombia, the 95% of our workforce is female. That I think that this is important for our economy. That this is the point that we want to talk in our presentation. So, this is how is the investment of the government and the private sector in the space technology about the last diagnostic that did the OECD. You can see that, for example, Latin America has less participation, like but stay in the line Argentina, Mexico, Brazil, and Peru. Also, if you see what happened in Colombia, no? Colombia is the second country in the world that has more biodiversity. We have 1.1 kilometers for all our territory, million kilometers of our territory. So we need new technologies for develop and for do all things that we want to do about prosperity and about workforce for our country. So what we are doing now, we know that in Colombia we have the necessities about the space technology. We have a great country with great natural resources, and we have a workforce, for example, with young professionals that now are working, especially in Colombian Space Agency, and we have a theory about what we can do from the economical perspective, and it's that in some occasions when I am in Colombia, the government, the principal industries ask, but how I can start my process for take some part in the industry for the space development. And by that reason, we are doing now on a great work with the industrials in Colombia for check all economy, and in that we check that we have many industries about climate, about manufacturing, about we have a big needs in analytic, in images, in all observation process, in Earth observation. And by that reason, I want to present what we are expend now our budget from 2019. From 2019, our budget are expend in navigation, in communication, in Earth observation. But we have a great opportunity because you can see in the graphic, but are you so small if you compare with the market in the global challenge. But yes, it's small, but if you see how we need to grow, if you see that we have many industries, and that yes, it's important that the government invest in the space technology, in the space economy, but the private sector are very, very strong too. And by that reason, we want to put on the table that the industry really are important. And the industry is not just the industry for build satellites or for take astronauts or for to do specialized activities or workers. The industry is of course, the aerospace industry, but the chemical industry, it's part of our exercise too. The electronic industry, the metalworking industry. Now we have in Colombia a big aerospace talking about the aero part of the equation. So I think that we in Colombia we have a great opportunity to grow. I think that in our emerging countries we need to do other exercise, that is take the principal industries, put what force we can develop in that industries, how we really can grow fastly with knowledge transfer from countries or international agencies that has a great experience and has a great focus about natural resources that, for example, is the case in Colombia, with all support, so areas similar to the agriculture. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pilar. Now then, we welcome the next speaker, Peter Varese from the Czech Republic. Just a minute to upload the presentation. Just a second.
Hello everybody, and thanks very much for being able to tell you something about what we do in space in the Czech Republic. I also have some humble suggestions that worked for us that might be useful. But first of all, I would like to tell you where we are, because many of you probably don't know where Czech Republic is. It's a very small country sandwiched between Germany, Poland and Austria. We have been free to do what we want only since about 1990, when the Iron Curtain fell. We started moving away from the embrace from Russia to Western organizations, so we became members of the European Union, of course very important members of the European Space Agency. We are in NATO, and also we managed to attract the headquarters of the Galileo Supervisory Agency, GSA, and now what's called OSPA, to Prague. So we have a very important agency based in our capital. This is how ESA likes to present us, as a one big family that works together. Well, I guess we are a normal family where sometimes we work together and sometimes we have arguments, but in the end it works very well in the frame of the European Space Agency. We actually joined a kind of kindergarten of ESA in 2005, and then we developed into becoming the first member of ESA from the former Eastern Bloc, and joined ESA in 2008. And after this fairly short period, we have now become quite competitive, and we are able to compete with the companies that have got 50 years or so experience, and countries which are much better budget than we do. And I think the success is demonstrated in this simple graph, where actually in 2005 we had a budget of 1 million euro. Now we are about 60. And that's twofold success, because on one hand it means that the government understood that what we do with the money is actually useful, both in terms of development of technology, but also to give reputation to our country, which was before part of the Eastern Bloc and therefore looked down on. And on the other side is ESA, who, as you may know, will not allow a country just to pour money into the budget unless the industry there is capable of actually winning contracts in a very heavy competition to that kind of budget. So this is the result, and one of the important factors why we managed to grow so quickly is actually the fact that we became members of a large international community, which gave us wider opportunities, participation in bigger programs, and help from countries and individual companies during our initial process of learning the ropes in ESA. So this brings me to my first suggestion, which actually is out of date, as I found out today. I have been telling my Latin friends that it would be a good idea if you had a space agency, and everybody was saying, oh, well, we have our historical differences and it's not so easy. But I see that now we actually have one, or in the making, so that's fantastic. Don't think that in Europe we don't have our differences and historical problems. We do as well. But in the end, it is better to work together and take the rough with the smooth. This is a picture of the Europe and the members. As you can see, not all members of the European Union are in ESA and vice versa, but the numbers of countries are growing. Now we come to the Czech Space Alliance Industry Association. We actually got established in the process of joining ESA, where we found that the space was actually considered a domain of Academy of Sciences, universities, and industry was considered something that was not necessary, or maybe to make bolts and screws for the scientists to play with. So in order to be able to assert some influence on the government that was making the decisions, we had to create an association which actually worked very well. And from 4 very small micro SMEs in 2006, we are now 16 and actually winning most of the work in ESA. So the main initial reason for creating the association was to make the academic community aware that we can actually contribute and work together and to influence the Czech space governance, but also to promote our interests in other countries, because even as near as Germany, people thought, what can these East Europeans do in space? They have no reputation. So we had to work on that quite hard for the few years, but now it's behind us. So we promote ourselves also in various countries. That's why we are here. We would very much like to start more cooperation with Latin America, and we hope that our scope of cooperation will grow. What we do inside the country is actually cooperate with the government, and we actually draft all the industry sections of the National Space Plan, which is issued every 5 years and then approved by the government. And we participate in what is the equivalent of a National Space Agency, a Space Coordination Board of the Minister of Transport, a long name, within which there is an Industry and Application Committee, and we as industry actually chairing it and pushing the government to do things the way we would like them to. The other suggestions that worked for us was to give industry an important say in defining the strategic objectives. We see in several of our neighboring countries that it's not done that way, and it seems to us that it's slowing them down, that the politicians decide that we should be good at this, or we should be focusing our budgets on that. But if you don't have the industry which is interested in this and also capable of actually then competing in the international environment, then these political plans are not very effective. So we also organize industry missions abroad, and we were in Brazil on a very long mission some years ago, and in Asia, and also invite companies and space agencies to Prague to network with our industry and with our space governance. And what are the government's objectives? Well, they're not actually putting money in ESA to study moon or comets or so on. They want to show that the Czech Republic is a competitive, highly developed technological country. And the best way, or one of the very good ways to do that, is to be successful in space activities. So that's one of the objectives. And the next one is return on investment. There's been many studies in Europe, probably in the US, that the return on investment into space brings returns of up to 7 times as much. So this is what we tell our government when we ask for more money, except that it's now coming back to us because we're not that fast, and we're not bringing such high return on investment, but we are working on it. Another objective that the government has is to promote the creation of more companies. So there are 2 business incubation centers which are run in cooperation with ESA, and they are to encourage startups and also to transfer technologies from space to normal life. So the other last suggestion is when you think of the activities that you want to focus on, it's important to look at those that have some practical benefits and are long term. There are many projects in space which are one-off or going to be repeated in 10 or 20 years. Go for something which is a continuous activity. An example is satellite navigation. There's always something going on. Once you've got experience, you can build on it and create more opportunities. These are some pictures from our international activities. Brazilian Space Agency, Japanese Space Agency, Chile recently, at the bottom Mexican Space Agency. And some of the missions, Brazil, that's one of the Brazilian launcher plans. And on the right we are on Mars. That's a Marshall landscape created in Harwell in UK to test rovers. And the flags were other countries where we were. We are very active in Japan. Many exhibitions we participate in, and we're going again next month. And here are some links to information which is available from the Czech government, the Czech Space Portal, from our association. And there are some more information in this presentation which have been hidden, so if anybody's interested, you're welcome to take the PowerPoint and see about especially the companies that we have. So thank you very much. Muchas gracias. Muito obrigado.
Thank you very much, Peter. And to close this first round of presentation of our panelists is Maria Cristina Falvella from Italy. The floor is yours.
May you hear me? Yes. Thanks for inviting me to this panel and to this conference. I have a very, very interesting week here in Glec, and I have, before starting, joined our moderator in thanks Sideralia Foundation and all the organization for the wonderful evening of yesterday that let us know a lot about Ecuador story, but also let us enjoy a very wonderful evening in an astonishing landscape. So thank you. Let's focus on the subject of today. A lot has been said in this week about space ecosystem, so I decided to focus on what is the Italian lesson learned on this. As you know, Italy has a very solid space ecosystem because Italy is a pioneer in space. We work for about 60 years, and so we develop a big ecosystem made by industry, the traditional actors, but also many startup and non-traditional space actors, academic, no-profit organization, of course, governmental institution. If you go on our website, you will find a catalog with about 200 companies that cover all the value chain in space, upstream, midstream, downstream, and space-related activities. But in addition, we have about 400 high-tech developers that, with more than 60 research and academic institutions, follow the evolution of space sector and continuously work to innovate and to provide a new solution, both at system and subsystem level. Because, of course, in 60 years, the situation changed a lot. And especially in the last 20 years, space experienced a dramatic change of paradigm that bring a new situation and catalyze a quick evolution. To manage this evolution, Italian Space Agency Italy decided to set up a foundation, Edoardo Amaldi Foundation. Edoardo Amaldi Foundation has the goal to set up a new model for applied research focused to transfer technology and massive utilization of space integrated application, and to maximize the impact of investment made in space in the traditional sector. On the model of Fraunhofer Institute, but just for space sector. And we have a lesson learned of this. What we learn from our experience, and especially from the last decade, we learn that we need to change mind. We learn that we have to think space as an environment not just only for space users. That space is not anymore a domain just for science, for research, for exploration. Of course it is, but is also an infrastructure for terrestrial services. And this means a strong involvement of private actors ready to take risk, and to invest in how will be the shape of our society tomorrow. And this, of course, change also the market condition. And set up a completely different environment for space. And so in this environment, investments are important, of course, but also policies are important. And policies are an institutional responsibility, because institutions should address the evolution of space if we want to guarantee a safe environment for the growth and the development of the economic system. Because you can have the best technology in the world, you can have a very performing technology, but if this technology cannot target the needs of the community, is not able to build up a local capacity, this technology will be never endorsement at a wider level. Will rest a precious, important asset for specialists, for very challenging mission, and not for all the community. And so, today, government are still the main investor in space. Of course, procurement, grants, research funds are very important, but we learn in our ecosystem, and I think that this is a model that can be replicated at a wider level, that we need to increase the role of private stakeholders for commercial exploitation, because this is the only way to increase the number of users. Because if you want an economy, you need the users, you need the customers, and you need also to have a feedback from the needs, from the new needs that shape your products. And this will benefit back also the space sector, of course, because bring back a new sustainability of the space sector that today is made of new actors. The ecosystem that I showed you at the beginning is today an ecosystem that should be improved with the new stakeholder, because it's not, will be unsustainable. And so we have the new space economy trend. In principle, space is ready to serve as an accelerator for managing the societal need. Is a tool to accelerate the achievement of the major targets of our society, and can even anticipate the action in tackling global challenges. However, you should base your strategy on 3 pillars that are contamination, globalization, and innovation. Without these 3 pillars, you will never have a sustainable space economy. So you need to leverage on diversity. And this changed completely the paradigm respect of what you have 30 years ago, where you have a small world of super specialists, pioneers that invest in long-term strategy. And as has been already said 2 years ago, to benefit of the new space ecosystem, you cannot be alone, not anymore. You need to increase your user community. You need to pool competencies if you want really to push on technologies. You need to share the risk if you want really to multiply the opportunities for your you and your partner. And of course, you have avoid duplication and overlapping partnership at global level, because if you restart each time from the beginning, you will never achieve. And what we can do to try to foster as an institution, as Edoardo Amaldi Foundation, we have this model in Italy, we choose this way, but I think that is a model that can be replicated everywhere. We need to foster the gathering between different stakeholders, to try to bring space down to the earth, in the meaning to give the no space actor the opportunity to benefit of what we develop and invest in space. And to do this, we have to produce space solution for non-space users. And to do this, we have to try to network people, to try to let people know that some solution already exists and can be used immediately with the saving of time, money, and mostly with the risk management. Because if you have something that already tested, you can, of course, customize, tailoring, but you have immediate improve. So for this, we organize every year a forum that focus to gather together both space actor, non-space actor, and to discuss the possible solution and the possible joint venture at global level. Because it's clear that the new space economy as space as a global vocation cannot be closed in a box, and can only be sustainable if is global. So with this, I invite you also to this year we discuss the sustainability as the game changer of the space economy, in the sense that will be probably the achievement of the target of sustainability will address also the institutional choice, and will address also what we will do in space economy. If you are interested, we can discuss this later, or in any case, I can welcome you in Rome if you have the pleasure to come in Rome in December. And with this, I open with the hyperspectral image of South America, was Patagonia, I forgot to say. This is Italy. So welcome there, if you have the pleasure to come and visit us to discuss this issue again. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much to all our panelists for their very interesting presentation and vision and experience on the ecosystems in each country. We will run a very quick round of questions, because thank you very much for your questions. Also, I tried to consolidate some of them. Because of the time, I will ask if we can answer a maximum 2 minutes. We start with Robert. Robert, can you elaborate a little bit on what is needed in order to create a local space ecosystem that effectively integrates into the global space ecosystem?
For me, I try to think, that the individual is important. And the individual in this case has the opportunity to make his own decisions, pursue his own dreams, and the opportunities in the market that he can consider. That way he can associate, he can collaborate, and he can pursue collaboration at greater levels. But it's very important to create that structure within the government, within the country or the region, that people can decide to make that choice. So having the choice, I think, is a very first important step to have available. I think it's a very important message to have this conference here in Quito, Ecuador, where the current government is showing a lot of willingness to be open to talk about these things. So the President Lasso has this message about Ecuador is open for business. And I would like to say from my experience is that Ecuador is also open for space. So our relationship in this case with different government organizations in this case. We're very glad to see the Air Force here. We're very glad to, in this case, the Ministry of Transportation is very interested, the Ministry of Tourism, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs have been very supportive of this event. And I think that's a key part of supporting, in this case, entrepreneurs, leaders, academics, in this case, to be able to pursue and lead. So I think that's a very important as we connect to the global ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Robert. I have another question for Rodrigo. What is, in your view, the competitiveness between countries? Space ecosystem, is this positive or negative? Or we can find a smarter way or better way to do so?
Well, I think it's not a question if it's positive or negative. It's reality, right? We live in a world, competition is part of all activities, and space is no different. So if you want to do space, sooner or later you're going to face competition, so you better be prepared for it. There is no way to avoid it. Of course, there are several levels of competitions, and sometimes, you can be stronger if you find the right partners to help you navigate through the space sector and space business. But it's unavoidable, so if you really want to work for on space, you need to be ready for competition.
Thank you very much. I have a question for Pilar. Pilar, how emerging countries can benefit on developing the national or regional ecosystems? What can be the challenges or opportunities?
I think that there are many scenarios to show how we can benefit in the economic and in the prosperity for any country. I think that we can benefit to show to our economies a new industry, and it's the Colombian case. I think that in all these days talking about the space, the economy, the ecosystems that are needed to create. In the Colombian case, we have a big and strong industry. We have a big and strong workforce, and of course that they can benefit. We test that maybe if you see in a annual budget in Colombia, in the PIB, you can see 1.5% of economic impact if you see or if you have a space industry. How we can do that? In resume of all our discussions for that panel, I think that we can do that with specialized projects. No, I think that it's great to do general agreements and to have a framework and to have a policy. All that, it's amazing, but I think that we need to concrete which projects we start to do. And with all this knowledge needed and help that we can receive from many international actors, we can do. And the conclusion for me about the economy is that the space is really important for Colombia. We have a big territory and we need technology. But we need to concrete and to use the information, the analytic, the software, the objectives that you study so much in the IAF, and I think that we need to start with the industry. For Colombia, the message is that we need to start the industry because we have more stability in the industry sometimes that in the government or in the political risk that we can take any 4 years. In that, for example, now we are in elections for our next president in Colombia. So if we have a focus in industry, like you say, I think that we can move on more fastly and safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pilar. I have a question for Fuad. From your perspective, Fuad, what is missing in the ecosystem equation? What can we do better in order to create a healthy and strong ecosystem?
I believe each country has its own vision. on developing space ecosystem. Well, the three major pillars, I believe everybody would agree, is the government, industry, and the academic institutions. It's always a matter of maybe chicken and egg situation. What comes the first? What you need to have as the first step in order to develop the others. And I think that each of them is extremely important, obviously, and there should be a solid basis, regulatory basis, for all actors to cooperate with each other. On an example of Azerbaijan, I would say that we're very much missing the industry component, I would say. It's very much important because without that component, for a small country, for emerging space nation, you keep on being dependent on the technological component from others, and that limits your sovereignty and your and from other aspects, it's very much desirable that industry keeps up with the demands and the requirements that can be in the region. Also, it's very much important, I believe, for all the space ecosystem players to understand that the beneficiaries are not only the space community, but all the social economic participants, players, the environment, the security. Everybody benefits from the applications that are being developed, and also it is a trigger and I believe a good stimulator for other new industries to evolve in the economy, which you have never thought about maybe in the past. For example, and that will be my last comment, in Azerbaijan, like we are a traditional oil and gas economy and agricultural. We were never famous for high-tech or technological related industry. And now in 10 years we managed in a way to diversify our economy, and many new ideas and directions started to evolve. So I believe everybody benefits from that, and at the end of the day it's a good trigger for diversification of your economy as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fuad. We are running very fast out of time. I have another question for Maria Cristina. In your vision, how a national regional ecosystem could drive economies of scale and foster innovation in countries?
Okay, consider that in 2016, OCSE defined three perimeters for space economy. The upstream, due to the manufacturing companies for space, the downstream, related with the use of space data, and the space-related activities, services and activities that you have in any case, and that through space can be improved with better results, save for money, time, and so on. In these activities, there is already a hidden effect, economic effect, that is not yet well measured, but determine what is called the space stream effect, a pervasive effect of space technology and integrated space application that impact all the society. And this effect create an economy of scale in the true economy. What we have is that in few years the space ecosystem will not exist anymore. We will have just an ecosystem, an economic ecosystem, that on which the society of the future will rely, that is based on space infrastructure that will serve all the services, that will support all the services on the Earth. And the economy of scale will be made of the fact that the increasing number of users, that will be at the end everybody.
Thank you very much. And the last question in 1 minute, Peter. What do you think, how can we improve the 3G generation gender and geographic diversity in local and global ecosystems?
I don't know if it's an easy question or a difficult one, because we don't really have any activities related to creating equality for the genders. We basically think everybody is created equal and have the opportunity. Certainly, in practice, in the space community, there aren't any barriers. We have ladies that created space companies or that manage existing space companies. We have ladies in the political sphere which are looking at space policies. So I don't think there is any issue that we need to deal with specifically. What is quite important for us is the geographical aspects. This is where we are very active. Our government is focusing on European Space Agency members. But in the association, we're looking much further afield. And Latin America is very interesting for us. Asia is very interesting. We have some projects even in Africa. And we are trying to cooperate with more and more countries because it's not only potential business, but it's also very interesting.
Thank you very much. I have 30 seconds for closing the conclusions. Thank you very much, all of you, for all your inputs, insights, and experience. It will very important for us to learn each other, to collaborate, and to start making more joint projects to make our ecosystem more strong. And one of the key elements that I saw in all the presentations that is international collaborations is a key point. I think no one can need to start from the beginning. We can learn for all the lessons learned on all the space programs and ecosystem that already is in a certain level of maturity. And finally, the international collaboration divides the costs and risks and multiplies the benefits and opportunities. And like Maria Cristina says, if you want to go faster, go alone. But if you want to go longer, go together. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks a lot. Once again, thanks a lot, Robert, for your keynote, and Alejandro for the